Here it is, king of the course on Windswept Fields. This is going to be a tough one for a lot of you out there. Shooting for top 50 is going to require getting all elite par at least, get the birdies where the birdies are in play, get the eagles where the eagles are in play. Winning this event is probably going to take at least a few aces on some of these windy holes. In this video, I'm going to walk you through each of the holes, a strategy for each. But first, we're going to start with how to do those throw-ins and make those adjustments for the wind. Let's jump into hole one. Good luck. Windswept Field is very difficult to get those aces because of the high winds that are in every hole. Every hole is going to have at least a 3 wind, sometimes 3 or 4 winds. Your friends on this course are going to be your sticky discs. So I'm going to use my sticky musket quite a bit here to get it close to the basket. And what I really want to focus on at the beginning of this video eventually is how to manage your throw-ins. So this course is about getting close to the basket and getting your throw-ins into the basket. So I'm going to throw this one a little bit further away and start with the throw-ins. On Windswept Fields, I'm going to be throwing in a lot on forehand because in forehand, the power is less, so you can mitigate the wind adjustments a bit more. So on a fuse, on a forehand, this forewind means I'm taking 20 feet of power off my fuse. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, there's a link in the top right here showing my whole throw-in technique for how to aim the power. So I'll throw about 40 feet of power with the fuse, and that'll get it aimed in at the basket straight to it. In a 3-wind, we're still going to forehand, but we can throw our power exactly as we would with a backhand. So 55 feet, I'm throwing my normal 55 feet of power to get this into the basket. It's good to know the maximum range of your putting because if you get close to the basket, especially in a 4-wind, it's way easier to use the putting mechanic than it is to actually use the throw-in mechanic. Here we got close enough, we could just throw that in. But let's putt it back here a little bit and show you that in a 3-wind, you can mostly ignore what the wind is doing when you're putting. When you have that 4-wind, we're going to have to adjust a little bit. I'm going to up just slightly to get more distance out of the headwind and putt that jury in that way. If you have a crosswind coming on the putt, you're going to see that start to affect that putt a lot more. Let's throw this one a bit short, and we will see the crosswind in effect when I go for the putting motion. We're going to get this a little bit closer here to show the putting crosswind. This is good. That's still a tailwind, isn't it? Let's get over here and show you the crosswind. There we go. So this one is going to noticeably drift off to the right when you throw that putt. Now that we have the putting mechanics and throwing mechanics figured out, let's walk through the holes. On hole 1, a sticky musket is going to be probably good enough distance for you. Sticky Vanguard, whatever your shorter range sticky throw-in disc is or sticky fairway is. And it's about making the wind adjustments. A headwind is going to give you a bit more turn. A tailwind is going to get a bit more fade. Then, of course, the left and right winds and the right to left winds are going to push you in their given directions. So it's a simple sticky musket here. Get close enough to be able to get the putt in. Should be a pretty safe one to go to. If you end up with a headwind, you can consider disking up a little bit. So I'm going to do a musket to sapphire. This is the water skip sapphire, not even the glide sapphire. And this will be enough to get a little bit of ground play and a little bit more air distance. Will slide me up, keep close to the basket, and make sure you're getting this birdie. With the distance your disc is to carry off the tee on hole 2, it's time to start really thinking intentionally about these wind adjustments. I have several different discs that I will throw on hole 2, depending on the wind. With this right to left wind, it's going to be the glide skip paradigm because this is going to fight that fade off to the left a lot more than a drive would. You can see this fight in the crosswind. It's going to get the skip and get enough distance up here to be able to get the pretty close bid for eagle. This hole is indeed an elite eagle, so it's one you're going to make sure you're getting if you want to be in the running for a top 50 or even winning this event. If we have this headwind, and especially this left to right wind, I'm going to go glide skip drive because I want to make sure I get as much distance as I possibly can. The glide skip drive is our biggest distance bomber here. And in the headwind, which is going to be forcing the disc to turn more. I want the fade of the disc to fight back against that. Get a good skip. And again, because we made the adjustments off the tee, the putt is easy. You have the choice really on all of these windswept field holds to make the hard throw off the tee or make the hard throw into the basket. Obviously, you much prefer to make the tough throw off the tee. Here, this four wind is a little bit more of a tailwind. So instead of the skip, I'm going to go light glide paradigm. Again, with that built-in turn, it's going to fight against that fade a bit more and get itself down by the basket. If we get a tailwind, we'll be able to take this with a simple glide water skip drive or your glide windbreak, whatever your glide not skippy is. Let's see if we can get that wind here. Here we go. This is enough of a tailwind, just that little bit, to show you that the glide water skip ride, it's plenty of distance out here. It should stop pretty close to this basket and be here for the tap in eagle. If you want to be running this, feel free to go at it with your glide skip. That just, of course, just leaves the possibility of being way far past the basket and have a pretty tough comebacker in the wind. Hole 3 is another one where you need multiple plays depending on what the wind is doing. In this right to left wind, I'm going to glide water skip drive, get it down very low here. And I'm actually even taking a little bit of power off this one. We want our goal, of course, as always, to be get as close to that basket as possible as you can. Going forehand takes some distance off, and going lower is going to take some distance off as well if it's hitting the ground a bit sooner. You can get a little bit cheeky on this one depending on what the wind is. This left to right wind gives the disc a lot of extra distance. And that lets us take even the water skip sapphire and let the wind push it out here. But because it's water skip, takes the biggest hazard on this hole out of play. And you could skip up next to the basket with that tailwind helping push you forward. Again, make sure you're getting the eagle here to stay competitive. So for the most part, my decision is between backhand water skip sapphire, forehand water skip drive, and then a third option, I'm going to show you in a minute after this, one more forehand water skip drive, show you how easy it is to get it down here and get it close to the basket after making the wind adjustments. It is going to be the backhand water skip drive, which I reserve pretty much exclusively for that 3 and 4 headwind. I'll get one here and I'll show you. Here's a bit of a headwind off the tee. So I'm going to go glide water skip drive on the backhand. Still aim low, take a little bit of distance off, then put the top chevron right about on that well that's out there. The half disc of Anheuser lets this turn into the wind by itself. The forewind or a bit more direct headwind has that turn even more. And again, you get close after the basket to manage the throw in. Throw in on forehand, of course, because we're within 60 feet. And it's that 3 wind. There's another line to get the eagle. If you have enough of a right to left tailwind, you can either go something like a glide sapphire or an accurate skip sapphire. On hole 4, it's a somewhat tricky par 3, a lot of wind, the downhill slope to get there. The glide sapphire is usually my go-to. If you have a bit of a tailwind, you can ace it pretty easily. Well, I don't know about easily. You can ace it with enough distance. Our whole goal here is to get right of the pin. Of course, hitting right on the pin is excellent as well. If you pass to the right side of the pin in pretty much any wind, that disc is going to curl up on the hillside and come back down towards the basket. We get it here again. Glide sapphire is plenty of distance to get out here. We want to miss on the right. If we miss, and here it is curling back down just a little bit. If you go with a roll sapphire or a roll rive, that'll have enough of a bite on the hillside to get itself even closer back to this to get the throw in. You can certainly ace run this with a rive or with a tailwind if you have that glide sapphire at it. With this hard left to right, or right to left rather, you can switch it up and take this on a forehand. And it gets down here, missing forehand, you want to miss more to the left, so the spin of the disc is bringing you back towards the basket. We're a little further out here, but uphill lets us just do straight putting motion with the jury. What's cool is if you get stuck high up that hill, you can putt further away from even 55, 60 feet. As holds true all over windswept fields, make those adjustments when you get the extreme wind. In this big tailwind, we're going water skip sapphire rather than the glide sapphire, which could just really take off, potentially going OB long, or just get a lot of ground play to end up far away from the basket, whereas water skip can snug up here right against it. If we get ourselves a headwind, we might even consider going all the way up to the rye or the distance driver to make sure we're getting all the way across that water rather than potentially falling in. Here's that three headwind. See the sapphire gets across. It is a little iffy and kind of barely getting across there. It gets across. It is safe to be enough. If that gets all the way to a four headwind, you do want to make sure you're tossing that rye. Otherwise, you will be falling in that water with the sapphire not getting far enough out there. Hole five, another one with plenty of different routes to take, depending on the wind and depending on your disc choices. When I have a strong right to left tailwind, I think the safer play here is take your glide sticky if you have it. It's glide water skip for me because I don't have sticky, and go forehand out here. Forehand typically wouldn't be enough distance, but with that big tailwind, you get safe back here and you get collected on this back wall. If you go with the backhand for that same shot, there's a decent chance the wind is going to kick you right up over that far hillside, and you're going to end up with a really difficult, steep downhill putt just to try and save that birdie. If you have a wind going here hard, right to left, we just showed the Rive option. You could take something like this is a water skip sticky paradigm for me. So whatever your tweener disc is, the Enigma works here. A distance driver that's flippy without glide works well here. And just like we saw earlier, the understability of that disc is fighting against the wind and get close over here onto the green again for the simple throw-in eagle. Top 50 for this event is probably going to require just getting elite par and not making the mistakes. Here in the headwind, we're going to want to go up to glide water skip rive, just making sure we get enough distance to get across here. If you miss, this miss has to be to the right. Even if you end up behind the tree and the rock that are right over here, behind this tree and rock, you're still 60 feet away, which you know you're going to be confident with throwing in 60 feet in any wind because you just watched my video on how to throw in. That's linked at the beginning of this. Another option here, if you get a good tailwind, let's get a good tailwind I can show you. One more time I'll try, and then I'll pause this and keep going. There we go. That's enough for tailwind. You glide sapphire is plenty. Give it a little bit of anhyzer to expose the bottom of that flight disc to the wind, and the glide sapphire is plenty to get across and have a very soft par 4. There's a very simple eagle to get in most of the winds. It's about getting to that green and then executing to finish up the eagle. Hole 6, another one with different routes for different winds. I didn't used to have the Explorer in my bag, but I really like having it in here. The Explorer has that hard fade at the end of the flight in order to dive into the basket. Just head it out over here. The wind's going to have it dive even more. Getting a little bit of foliage is okay. And boom, right there next to the basket to take the top in. You can get certainly more aggressive with this if you have that hard right to left wind. Like you do again here. Take the Explorer out wide and give this a bunch of hyzer to dive it in a bit more. Obviously, need a lot more hyzer. If you get that wind pushing in the right direction, that's a more aggressive route to try to get the ace on it. If you don't have the Explorer in your bag, this works with a musket. This works with a warship as well for a similar shot. If we have this left to right wind, even a headwind here, you can take a musket out this left side, give it a bit of hyzer, and the musket's going to get you pretty close too. Oh, if you don't get a bad roll like that, that's okay. We've practiced the throw-ins. We know we'll be able to make this throw-in even from out here. 90 feet, we're going to throw it with 50 feet of power on the backhand. Let's do something cool and show you I actually know what I'm doing. Oh, no, I gave it too much power. It's not super easy. That's why we're trying to get close to the basket and not have even that 90-foot throw-in on Windswept Fields. Here's another one. Get this one a bit closer with a better ground play. Sticky musket around the left side. Much better ground play. Getting ourselves close to the basket. There used to be a wide open route kind of right up the gut at this basket. It used to be a bit of an ace run even. That got closed up in one of the updates that added some extra foliage in here. There's a bit of a route, if I remember correctly, right about here. Nope, that's the tree that got closed up. Going past that tree. Is it up here more? Yeah, past that tree. And a fuse straight up the gut to get close to the basket this way. Not so much of an ace run anymore now that that tree has collision that I hit on the first attempt, but another good way to get yourself close to the basket. Make sure you're at least getting that birdie. Windswept Field 7, as again, we've heard so many different plays at this. You can certainly take yourself a big sky hyzer, drive or distance driver up over this tree and get it down somewhat close to the basket to be able to get your birdie. You could take something like an overstable putter. For me, it's the tempo, and curve it around this tree. Oh, that one cut a little bit close. It's harder to reset without having a default aim point to start with. Curve it around this tree. Have it slide on the ground close to the basket. Especially if you have that right to left pin helping you out. You can even do this with something like an Explorer and just power it down. Have that curve around the corner this way. Again, getting you close to the basket. This is going to be a very rare ace, and honestly, I'd be shocked if there were any aces on this hole within this King of the Course event. My favorite play, though, that I saw actually Aaron Christensen introduced me to, is the roller. Takes fuse, an understable mid-range works perfect. Aim out over here to the right, and on the forehand, a full roller angle. Doesn't even need to be a roll disc, but it makes this hole so incredibly simple to get you close enough to this basket and have essentially a top-end birdie. See if we have an adverse wind. See if we can get one that's pushing us left to right and show how much that roller still works here. We're aiming not quite as far to the right and still the full roller angle. Because the fuse is understable, it's going to be curling up early and find its way back to the basket, even in that wind that's trying to stop it from going that direction. Make sure you're getting your birdies here to keep yourself competitive and going for that top 50. This is probably one of the safer ace runs that you have available on Windswept Fields. I think the Seer can get there. Honestly, I haven't hit this in quite a while. I'm taking the Seer, very similar to the river, giving it hard or a lot out to the left so the wind can turn it over towards the basket. You came in about the right height. It's going to get us close there. So the idea is give it the ace run, but make sure you're not ending up too far away. So the ace run, make sure it's with a sticky disc if you're giving the run at it. If your best sticky disc is a musket or you don't feel like running at it, cool trick take here. Go right into the tree. And the tree has enough collision to slow you down, but not so much that you're going to stop really far from the basket. 58 feet, we'll throw in with 40 power and take that birdie this way as well. So take a run at that basket. If you get the headwind, you're going to have to disc up to that musket because your Seer or your 7-speed isn't going to make it across. But if you have this big tailwind, I'm going to go with the Explorer to have it dive down a bit more at the end. Go in. No, not going in. But again, we're using sticky to make sure we get close enough to be able to ensure that we're getting the birdie. 60 feet of power on this one. There we go. Keeping the birdie alive. Let's go to hole 9. Windswept Fields 9 is always going to have a 3 wind. So there's really just 8 different winds that can come into play here. 3 wind in one of the 8 different directions. You can get a pretty safe run at this with the Explorer most of the time. It's about making your adjustments for the wind and getting as close as you can with it. If you're not comfortable taking that ace run at it because you're concerned about bounce off the basket or you just don't want to end up with a throw in even 60, 70 feet, there's a play you can take at this with even the windbreak fuse. In any wind, we aim the top chevron right down on this rock. The headwind is going to give it some turn. So we give it a little bit of Anheuser. It's going to get here just barely and keep us in tap-in range for the basket. I'll probably be running this when I play through King of the Course, taking the Explorer at it most of the time, but certainly one if you're not sure, especially like a tailwind like this. Let's see what the Explorer can do. I haven't aced this one very often, So let's see if we can get the Explorer there. Oh, go in. Go in. No. And see, this is the risk there. We're not too far away. What's this? 80 feet? And 80 feet is relatively simple with a forehand. But if it's not something you're comfortable with, see, there we go. Let's try it again. Relatively simple with a forehand. But if it's not something you're comfortable with, it's easy to get to something like this and have some trouble. Let's get the final one in. Is this downhill more than I thought? Downhill more than I thought. That was a 70-footer I needed. So don't get a bogey there. Good luck with king of the course. Get your aces. Get your elite par. But most importantly, stay bogey free.